Good morning, everybody, for our second live stream. We're back. We were here on Tuesday morning last time, talking about some philosophy, psychology. We went to Tanzania, where humans first evolved. And today, I learned a lot from that stream. First of all, I moved my microphone closer because it was harder to pick up my voice. Also, I was rambling a bit. So, hopefully, today we'll cover some interesting things I thought to cover. First of all, Aristotle's Lyceum. So in ancient Athens, ancient Greece, what was it like to what was it like where Aristotle actually set up his Lyceum, his gymnasium for the youth? And what was his kind of philosophy on metaphysics? So if you're interested in again personal development or growth and potential, I find it very interesting because I was actually in Athens a few months ago. And so that was super interesting. So we'll cover a bit of that today. Also, a coaching model called Grow, GROW. So today's topic, I guess you can say, is how to be your own gardener, or how to, just whether you're going through things in life or want to set a direction, how to use these models in philosophy to grow as well. And then also quite interesting perspective, like using a coaching model to unpick the layers of a goal. So there was one interesting story about an athlete, then going into the IFS. So I'm going to post on Instagram as well. Inside, we have an internal family system. So that's also a really interesting model to look into as well. So yeah, we're going to go into that today. Try to keep it a bit more condensed and see how it goes. But I hope everyone's having a good morning so far if you're from UK. Let's go ahead and share my screen. All right, so let's go back to ancient Athens. So the Lyceum, I think that means something like gymnasium. So, oops, hope that's the same thing. So, if I go back one page, yeah. So that's what it looks like now, kind of just ruins and rubble. But actually, it's really interesting. So in ancient Athens, they had in the center of Athens, they had the Acropolis on the hill. So that was like their last live stream. We talked about the ancient god system, the pantheon, and how these gods were actually personifications of the parts and emotions inside of us. And that was what the pantheon represented, or the Parthenon represented the temple on top of the hill. That was called Acropolis. But then outside of Athens, Aristotle was actually given, who was one of the famous philosophers about 500 years before Jesus, so about 2,500 years ago. So if you think about it, this depth of thought was going on for quite a lot of time. And in this place, Aristotle would basically gather, dress in his robes and walk about um, Athens with his kind of ideas, and really shaped the understanding and the depth of thinking of the people as well. So he used to gather a lot of the young men in the nature as well. So they were able to have that clarity of thought, because as we know from also my YouTube shorts, being in nature, it decreases cortisol levels, it develops or replenishes focus as well. And so they were able to develop quite a high degree of clarity of thought and less busyness of mind. So yeah, it was super nice to be there as well. Just even nowadays, it's super chill and super peaceful. So basically, the government gave Aristotle, or gave the gymnasium, or I guess the citizens were taxed, and then the government actually gave some money for Aristotle to run this place, which was pretty cool. And maybe it looked like this back in the day. There was some wrestling as well going on back then. So they weren't just trained on their mind, but also their bodies. And that's not something you see nowadays as well, like we talked about last time. Most of the time, we're not really in the nature training our minds and bodies, and we're a bit disconnected. So, from that kind of teaching, he developed some teachings from his teachers, Plato and Socrates, and Aristotle really refined it. And one of his teachings was metaphysics, which metaphysics basically means the the branch of philosophy that studies the ultimate structure and constitution of reality. So metaphysica, basically after the things of nature. So we have a sense of perception. So last time we were talking about the hunter gatherers in Tanzania, how we wanted to survive back in the day when we were evolving millions of years ago, or I think 1 million years ago, Homo sapiens started to evolve. And so we had reality, but our brains also created a filter of reality or a map of reality, so we could effectively go about and understand reality in a certain way. So we could track predators, we could collect our breadies and nuts, and we could understand the tribe we were from. So Aristotle kind of intellectualized this a bit, and he called it metaphysics. So not just the reality we see with our perceptions, but the the meta reality, I guess you can say. So we're talking about introverted intuition beforehand in terms of the Myers-Briggs in the last live stream. And so this is kind of similar in a sense, where metaphysics is really getting the meta understanding of the physical reality. And I'm not going to explain it all. First of all, I'm not an expert. And second of all, I'm not knowledgeable enough. I guess they kind of go together. But in terms of growth, super interesting, where Aristotle basically took his students and he said humans are kind of like a flower, and that it's not just, okay, you have to get from point A to point B or A to Z, but you have to create this like a flower, like a flower bed. So you've got to have the pH right, you've got to have the temperature right, you've got to have the light right. So how does that constitute for humans? How does all the factors play in to develop a human to their greatest potential? So when you're looking at, for example, the Olympic Stadium, Greece, like I talked about in one of my vlogs, which is still to come out, when you're looking at the Olympic Stadium, you might say, oh, look at the capacity, look at the number of seats, maybe look at the volume. But then Aristotle will then talk about the metaphysics. So what was the time that went into building that stadium? What was the tender process like? Where did the marble come from? So this is like factoring all the things that you can't really see in reality that still plays into making the potential of the stadium. So in the same sense, he looked at human beings in the same way. So giving them the most optimum pathway to develop their potential. So not just looking where they are now and trying to get a result, but also creating space for them to develop their mind space and their critical thinking and their reasoning. And that's where metaphysics came in, to flourish them like a flower. So really developing that depth of understanding and that spaciousness of mind was super important. So I think what's worthwhile to do as well, when I'm doing these live streams, is I want to do an awareness exercise. So we not just talk about these things, but we can actually practice these things in the morning together. And so all an awareness exercise does is, I believe, the fundamental building block of our human capabilities is basically our attention. And our attention nowadays, you might see in the news, our attention span is getting less and less. And to develop our attention, like different cultures around the world says, is through meditation, that's going inwards, but also an awareness exercise, is going outwards. So we can do all together on this live stream. How many people? 0 of us. But if you're watching this after as well, not just to talk about this stuff, but to try it. So we're going to first close our eyes and then go through senses of awareness and try to see how strong our attention actually is. And then we're going to go inwards and then see where our attention is inside ourselves and whether we've developed our attention in that way. Because Aristotle and his guys, they used to go for a walk um, round after their discussions and just be in nature and reflect and really connect with nature and themselves in that way. So, yeah, let's try it. So, first of all, um, you can just keep your eyes open and fix on a point. And with your hearing, first put your attention on your hearing and listen to anything close to you and just focus on your attention on your hearing. And then let your attention on your hearing run out as far as possible and see what you can really hear on the furthest ends of your hearing. And then close your eyes. And then also now try to smell and put your attention towards your smell. And then attention towards your taste. And then noticing how that bringing the attention to that fine state actually relaxes you a bit. And then open your eyes and without labeling anything, just put your attention lightly on any colors and objects. And then now that's the awareness exercise, just to connect with your attention. Then we're going to close our eyes again and then bring the attention inwards. So noticing any thoughts that come up. And also noticing any emotions that come up as well. And then also any even comments in the mind that's commenting on this practice or this or trying to actually keep your attention or watch your attention. So you can see so you can open your eyes now. You can see how there's a subtlety in this, and that the attention is the fundamental building block. And people understood this years ago, and it just brings your attention and focus into sharpness. And you start to realize that the world is, of course, complex. We can apply structures and look at the material things in the world. But if we go inside ourselves enough and put the attention there, and not get too distracted by the outside world, we understand that there's also many layers inside. So you have all these thought beliefs and thought processes that crop up, maybe some critical, some distracting. Then you have the emotions underneath as well, and different emotions layering on each other. So really, like we looked at Jung's psychology before, the depth of the external world, but then also depth of the psyche. So with this awareness exercise and then going inwards, we can start to see or train our mind's attention and then develop a sense of peace and calm. So I hope you find that useful. So hopefully we can start our live streams off together with that exercise too, and just develop our attention in a better way. So that was the understanding of metaphysics and the philosophy side. Um, but now I want to bring it into a more practical example. So I heard a really, really good story, and that was about this runner, and it was a girl, and she came to a coach, and she really wanted to basically ask him, I want to I want to go on a diet, and I want to just follow the diet, and I want to be a really good runner. So, I'm getting this percentage body fat, and so I can run. And the coach is like, high performance coach. That's what she thought she wanted. And then the coach was like, okay, we can really do that for you. But then it's not just achieving the result, it's also going underneath and really understanding what's driving that. So then the coach asked the runner, what's your motivation behind, or yeah, what's your motivation behind wanting to use the diet, and what's your motivation wanting to actually run this race? And the girl had to actually think about this. And then he asked, okay, what's not making you stick to this diet, or what would make you stick to this diet? And the girl said, maybe posting on Instagram every day, a picture of my plate, a picture of my dinner, so my family and friends would see. And then the coach then thought about her motivation, and then asked, okay, what happens if you didn't post on Instagram for your family and friends to see? um, what happens if you just ran the marathon by yourself and dieted? And then that girl said, well, then I wouldn't have any motivation behind going on a diet and running the marathon. So then the coach linked the motivation for having a diet and marathon to her family and friends. And so there's different layers here. There's the high performance, then there's the educational, and then there's the really transformational side, where you're going deeper and deeper and digging into the belief system of the runner. And so the runner really looked at herself, and then the question was not just about, okay, how can I achieve a diet, or how can I run this marathon, but then, do I really want to run this marathon? And then, what is my motivation behind things? It goes to a deeper level. So in that way, in a metaphysics way, or in a coaching model way, you're not just looking for your performance or hitting results, but it's really going underneath the layers and figuring out what's your motivations in the first place, and then building it back up from there. So it may be that the girl would not want to run a marathon in the end, but actually work on her motivations, and then building a result or a target, an objective from there. So I just wanted to share that example because I thought that was super cool, a super practical example in our daily lives, and we could apply that as well. And then this is just more of a framework and a model. So we looked at Myers-Briggs last time, Enneagram, and then going on for Maslow's hierarchy. I thought this was a really cool model as well, like the Grow coaching model. So if you really go into this, kind of nice, sticking with the theme of this live stream, which is kind of this, how to be your own gardener, or how to have the tools to grow yourself, and how to really leverage your potential. Ah, excuse me. So first of all, just really figuring out, getting clarity, because a lot of people maybe not clear. Maybe they're stuck in a situation like that girl was, and maybe she did have a goal, but really drilling down on what is your goal. So that's really the first thing, to unravel your story and then find out, okay, what is my goal? What do I want to achieve? What is my motivations? What is the ideal I'm looking for? And then what really is the objectives here? So we can unwind the story a bit, and when the belief system, and then actually develop an internal framework for ourselves and getting clarity on that. And once we find clarity on that, then we can actually coming into the physical world instead of the metaphysics world. So super cool how these ideas hold up over thousands of years. And then next, coming into the reality, so the actual physical world instead of the abstract. So where are we now? So maybe that girl was in a position where she wasn't on a good diet or she wasn't running every day. So just facing that reality. What is the reality? Asking for a self assessment, maybe getting feedback from others, and just really understanding our reality in relation to our goal. And it might sound as if, like, oh, I know my reality or know my goal. But like we saw with that runner, it's actually not concrete until we put thought into it. And then we won't feel stuck because it starts to become more clear. And then sometimes it's called way forward as well, or wrap up. So then bringing that where I am now into, okay, so what are the actions? How do I get there? So really writing down on a piece of paper these four things, then listing maybe 3, 4 bullet points. What are the actions? Like breaking it down. Okay, what are the actions that I could take in the next 24 or 48 hours to do, and how would I commit to the actions? What are the steps? But also, what are the obstacles that could actually come in my way? And then how would I overcome these obstacles? And then developing actioning plan, and then again just the timing to hit these things and developing some momentum. So just that subtle change and subtle attention to that issue can actually unravel um, a lot of the goal and a lot of the area to work towards. And then the last one is just the options. So after we want our actions to be taken and a commitment to the actions, what are the options here? What, like, who can help you? What do you actually practically need? What do you actually need to reach out to? So that's, really trying to get the objectivity and the options in the real world to achieve your goal. And it's not just a one-time process, but it's a circular process. So I hope that type of tool is super helpful. I know it's like a very basic tool, but I thought just to go over it because it gives some quite good understanding on this whole kind of metaphysics to growth model. And just to develop that space of clarity, because like we did with our attention or meditation exercise, our attention is often going from here to here to here. And whenever developing really that space or that clarity to actually distill what is our goal and where we're heading towards. So that was super fast, super super quick. So I hope that was interesting for you. I'm just going to share this on Instagram, but I thought to give you a sneak peek as well, why the attention or the self-reflection exercise was good. Because according to Dr. Richard Schwartz, we also have an internal family system, and this focuses on the self, the firefighter, which is basically a part in us that distracts us and also self-soothes. The manager, which is that critic, but also that part in us driving us forward. And the exile, which is a more vulnerable part, but also gives us some creativity and sensitivity. But all of these parts can be overburdened, and it's the job of the self to develop the clarity beyond the busyness of our mind and to really unburden these parts so we can then move forward with these strengths as part of ourselves. So it kind of goes more in depth, but it's worth having a look at. I'm going to post it on Instagram this week. And so I've also kind of broken down manager, how it feels when it's unburdened and burdened. And I've done the same for the firefighter and the exile as well, and also the self as well. So I'm just going to post that on Instagram this week, but I thought to give you a sneak peek on how that attention exercise can really go a bit deeper into helping us. So there you go. That was 25 minutes, a bit faster than last time, which was over an hour. I hope that was good. Let me know what you think, if you liked a faster format or if you liked a more slower, chilled format, going into the grasslands of Tanzania and Google Maps like we did last time, and exploring at a slower pace. I'm going to try different things, hopefully, like doing a mindfulness or meditation or attention exercise together will be super useful for you in the mornings. Going through this type of exploration. Let me know if you'd like to go do some Greek philosophy, some Indian philosophy, some ancient Chinese philosophy with Lao Tzu and the Tao, or Native American, whatever you're interested in, feel free to comment below. If you have an MBTI type and you want to know more about that, feel free to go ahead in the comments. Like I said, I think I've got a QR code here. There you go. You can scan a QR code, or you can just type in Jyoti Video Projects on Instagram and hit me up as well if you want to do some one-on-one talk as well. Like I said, I've been working in a corporate as a mentor, and I'm learning some professional coaching techniques. So we can have a free session as well if you're interested as well. So yeah, that's it. We're under half an hour today. So wish everybody a nice day if you're in the UK, and also if you're other parts of the world, have a good evening. I'm going to go have my porridge because I'm super hungry, and hope you enjoyed, everyone. Bye bye, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.